Hey guys, welcome back to Critical Flick. Today I'm reviewing The Little Things. So The Little Things will be premiering on HBO Max, and I think it will also be in theaters. And this movie stars Denzel Washington as a grizzled police deputy, someone who's been on the force for a really long time, and he's obsessed with trying to crack one particular case. And he ends up teaming up with Rami Malek, who plays a young detective in this film. And they're trying to catch this serial killer who's running around 1990s Los Angeles. So I have to say, right off the bat, I was really excited for this movie. I saw the star power behind it. Denzel Washington, obviously phenomenal. Rami Malek has been really good in recent years. Jared Leto's also in this, so I really do like that he really goes for his roles, and he definitely goes for it in this film. But I have to say, a lot of the other elements of this movie just fell a little flat for me. The movie has some really strange editing and some rather slow pacing. The movie is about 2 hours long, and it feels even longer in my opinion. They try to do the slow burn tactic. When you're doing a film that deals with this noir, crime, drama, crime thriller, you build the suspense, you ratchet up, it keeps people on the edge of their seat wanting to know who the murderer is, know the mystery, and really dive into it. I never really felt like that in this movie. I felt like we were just moving along, and it kind of hits a twist, it hits an ending, but it never felt like it was worth the build-up. The slow burn didn't feel like it was worth the resolution at the end of the film. But like I said, it had some really good performances in it because it had some really phenomenal actors. Denzel Washington does a solid job as this character, especially when you get to see more of what's going on with him behind the scenes. Early on in the film, I don't know if I was fully invested in him, but by the end of the movie, I was very intrigued with where his character was going and the struggles he was dealing with internally. Rami Malek is solid as the detective in this film, but I don't know. He doesn't have a ton of depth to him. I did like where the movie took him, and particularly the last third act. I really was intrigued with the way they were going to twist it and turn it. I will probably go into some spoilers in this review, particularly at the very end after my rating, but I don't know, just nothing really felt like it was entirely merited. And as I mentioned before, Jared Leto is in this movie. He plays this really creepy guy, and I'm going to have to go into some spoilers to reference kind of what happens with him, but you kind of see from the trailers the character that he's playing, and he definitely goes for it. It almost feels out of place at times. I don't think it's bad acting, it just feels misplaced. He's so strange, it's almost more like a kooky character than a scary character. He's so strange and so weird and off-putting, but at the same time, it's such a serious and down-to-earth movie with some rather intense characters, and you have this almost goofy character interjected into the story. But there is the classic Jared Leto thing of him being kind of physically transformed. I do believe there are a few prosthetics going on. I don't know exactly how it was filmed, but you almost forget that he's Jared Leto when he's on the screen. So I think all the performances were solid. They weren't amazing, but they definitely were serviceable. It's just the other elements of the film that I feel really let it down. In particular, I think the writing of the movie kind of misses the point a couple times. The story itself doesn't fully invest you into it, doesn't draw you into it, doesn't build the tension of other films of the same genre, and that's kind of interesting to me because John Lee Hancock wrote and directed this film, and he's done some movies that I've really enjoyed, whether it be The Founder, Saving Mr. Banks, so I was really going into it with really, really high expectations, like I said, and it just didn't meet those. I don't think the movie by any means is aggressively bad. It didn't have that great resolution or that intriguing story that I was expecting with this cast and this writing credit. So first I'm going to give my initial review, and then I will talk about some spoilers, particularly the end of the movie, because there's some things involving the plot, especially at the last part of the film, that I didn't personally love, and I don't think it helped the story out at all. It kind of negates the movie in a lot of ways, in my opinion. But if I were to initially rate this movie, I will give it a 4.5 out of 10. Like I said, I think it's very average, maybe slightly below average, just because of the level of talent and the level of backing that's behind this movie. It just could have been so much better. There were glimpses of things that I really enjoyed about it. There's particularly a scene with Rami Malek when he does something really horrible, and it's really kind of a gut punch moment, and you see his reaction, his effects to that having happened. But there were a few moments like that. The whole movie itself maybe had 2 or 3 really great moments with a lot of lull in between. So now I'll jump into spoilers, particularly the very end of the film. So as the movie plays out, they discover that Jared Leto is a prime suspect. They bring him in, they're trying to get the truth, and they're convinced that he is the guy who's committing these crimes. And then at one point, he is taken on a ride out with Rami Malek to the desert because they think that this is where he killed these people. This is where the bodies are buried. He's going to take them out there. They're going to discover it, and then he keeps egging him on. Jared Leto's character keeps egging him on and driving him on and driving him on until he snaps and he hits him over the head with a shovel and he kills him. And I thought that moment in particular was like, oh wow, this is going to get serious. This is like the real deal now. This is what we've been building towards. And after that, it felt kind of flat. You get to see a little bit of Denzel Washington's background and why he's so obsessed with the case, which I think is good. I think it unravels things for us, but it almost unravels them too quickly. You have almost an hour and 45 minutes of build to this moment, and then it just like, that's it. It just falls apart right there. And then the very, very end of the movie, you're trying to figure out, you want to know if he's the real killer. Because Rami Malek, he's really torn up about it. He didn't want to kill this guy. But at the end of the day, you know, maybe this guy's a horrible person. And, you know, it doesn't justify it, but it makes it a little bit better, right? So you think that you're going to see this key piece of evidence that's going to make this guy guilty. And you get to see it. And you're like, okay, I liked that. I like the initial ending of the film. You're like, okay, resolution there. But then you see the very, very end of the movie, and Denzel Washington is burning the evidence because he wants to cover up that this guy was murdered. And you see that he planted that piece of evidence. He didn't really find it. This guy probably, most likely, was not the killer. You don't get told that exclusively, that he isn't the killer. But I didn't like that. I didn't like that. Now it's just, okay, so I just don't know. We just have no idea. This murderer could still be out there. This whole movie, they're hunting this guy down. Denzel Washington's dedicating his life to this because of the mistakes he made in the case early on. And it's just, that's it. And I like some movies with some, you know, kind of vague endings, but this just didn't work for me. The building up of it didn't justify it being so vague at the end, in my opinion. I'll be interested to see what you think about it. If you're someone who stuck it out, watched the whole movie, and you really enjoyed it, how'd you feel about that ending? Did you like the ending? Would you rather it have ended with the initial ending, with them seeing the clip, and that's kind of the end of the story, and, you know, we can move on past this, and we can, like, grow from it, learn from it? It didn't feel like that. It felt like no one learned anything and grew anywhere from it. So I'm really interested to see what you guys think about it. Leave those comments down below. Remember to like and subscribe. See you guys next time.